is the only place in the world that has to accept the US dollar? What country is the only country in the world that has to accept the US dollar? So first of all, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining in tonight. Truly appreciate it. I've actually been looking forward to this. I've done a very small amount of research on this digital cryptocurrency or digital fiat cryptocurrency. So I'm going to go through what I found, and I'm going to tell you why I think that it's not a good idea. Central bank digital currencies. Don't mistake in central bank digital currencies for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum or those cryptocurrencies that you're hearing about right now because they're skyrocketing in price, right? Don't mistake in them for those. I'll refer to those types of cryptocurrencies by just saying Bitcoin, right? Because they all revolve around Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is what's called a decentralized cryptocurrency. The reason that it's called a decentralized cryptocurrency is because no one has any authority over it. The only person that has authority over a Bitcoin is the person that holds the private key. Okay, so you have all of the control when you hold the private key to a Bitcoin. So the private key is what makes that cryptocurrency a cryptocurrency. It's what makes it yours. And it's what evolved from the mathematical formula that had to be solved in order for that cryptocurrency to come into existence, which is called mining. So don't confuse a CBDC. I'm going to call the central bank digital currency CBDC from now on. That way you guys can, that way I can keep it short. So don't confuse a CBDC with a Bitcoin, all right, or a cryptocurrency. Now a CBDC is a central bank digital currency. Now, why is this such a bad idea? There are many reasons why it's a bad idea, and I'm going to go over some of them right now. Let me go and see. Yes, China launched CBDC. CCP has full control, of course. Yes, so China did launch a CBDC internally, and also Venezuela. Venezuela just launched a CBDC as well for their country, and there are reasons why Venezuela did that, and China did that as well. The reason Venezuela did that is because they've been kicked out of the SWIFT system. Now, for those of you that don't know what the SWIFT system is, the SWIFT system is the vehicle by which countries can move money from country to country, nation to nation, all right, in U.S. dollars. And what the U.S. likes to do is if a country is not in step or in line with our narrative, with what we want them to do, we kick them off the SWIFT system. So Venezuela has been sanctioned and kicked off the SWIFT system, just like Iran, and they've even threatened Russia to be kicked off the SWIFT system. However, Russia has a backup system to the SWIFT in case they do get kicked off. So they've been working on that for a while, and they've already got it set just in case it happens. So this is one of the reasons why Venezuela, I feel, went to a digital currency, is because they can bypass the nuisance of not being able to trade or transfer money from nation state to nation state via the SWIFT system, right? And the abuse of the SWIFT system is one of the reasons why I think that a lot of the world countries are going to start swaying away from the dollars. Or I misworded what I said. Not that are going to start, but they've already started. They've already started swaying away from the dollars and trading with each other bilaterally, right? So trading with each other instead of going through the SWIFT system and using the US dollar. And the problem with that is that the more countries that do that, the more de-dollarized the world becomes. And the more de-dollarized that the world becomes, the more dollars that are flooded into the US, creating inflation. And what I mean by creating inflation is that more dollars will enter into our economy. A lot of people don't understand that most of the US dollars that exist, or the Federal Reserve notes that exist in the world, exist outside of the United States. So imagine if we had all of those dollars that did not exist inside the United States come into the US. Where is the only place in the world that has to accept the US dollar? What country is the only country in the world that has to accept the US dollar? It's the US. It's our currency. So any country out there that has a whole bunch of US dollars in reserves, They know that they can send it over here and purchase something from us, be it oil, be it grains, be it hogs, be it whatever. They know they can use those dollars because our dollars, of course, as Richard Nixon said, are as good as gold, right? So they know that they can use it here. So whenever they want to get rid of their reserves, if they don't want to deal with the dollar anymore, they can always send it back here, and we have to accept them. So what happens when all of those dollars enter our shores that weren't here before? It creates inflation within our economy. So I expect for there to be more of a trifecta when it comes to inflation in the U.S. Not only are we going to have inflation because of the money printing that's going on, but we're going to have inflation because of the money printing that has gone on in the past and shoved to other countries. All those countries are going to start sending their dollars over here. Just like in 1971 when Nixon took us off the gold standard. The reason he did that is because countries were demanding to trade in their dollars for the gold that we had in reserves. Well, when they figured out that we didn't have enough gold in reserves to go ahead and accommodate all of those dollars that were coming in, what happened? They took us off the gold standard. So it's going to be kind of like the same thing. When we have all of those dollars that are outside of our borders coming in, what are we going to give them for those dollars? The only thing that we can give them are our goods and services, because that's all we have. Be it goods in the form of resources, natural resources, or things that we build, which we don't really build that many things right now. Hopefully that's going to change. And or our services. Those are the only things that we can give them. All right. So when all of those dollars come back and they start searching or they start following the same amount of goods that there are anyways, the prices of things are going to go up. And that's not counting the inflation via the money printing. That's not counting the inflation via the scarcity of goods that we'll have in the future because of our resources. We just can't get it as fast as we used to. So because of the weather, right? So all of those things are going to come together. And I believe that the US dollar in its current form is almost dead and will be dead within the next, I would say the next decade at the most. So this is the time to be preparing to preserve your wealth, whatever wealth you have. This is the time to be preparing for it, because I think it's just going to get worse and worse as we go along. What are the central banks going to do in order to fix this? Because you know that the central banks' control over us is through the money, right? Their control over us is through the money. Look at the Federal Reserve. They own more than 1/3 of all of the mortgages in the United States. Right now, the Federal Reserve owns more than 1/3 of all of our mortgages. So the way that they can control us even more once they get rid of the dollar, you see, because the dollar is dead. It's being held on life support right now. It's currently dead. So what are they going to do to continue their control over us? They're going to come out with a central bank digital currency. And what is a central bank digital currency? Let me go ahead and read it for you. I'm going to read what it says here as far as what it is. It says, a central bank digital currency uses blockchain-based token to represent the digital form of a fiat currency of a particular nation or region. A CBDC is centralized. It is issued and regulated by the competent monetary authority of the country. So what this is telling you that is that a central bank digital currency is just another fiat form of money. It's no different than the dollar is today, except that it's completely digital. So what's bad about it being digital? First thing is privacy. With a central bank digital currency, you will have absolutely no privacy. The entity that controls it will know exactly what you buy when you buy it. Okay, so if they want to know what you bought at McDonald's, they're going to know what you bought at McDonald's, when you went to McDonald's, what time you went to McDonald's, okay? They can control how long you have the currency in your electronic wallet until the currency disappears. So for example, we all know that central banks do not like deflation, right? Deflation is the equivalent of saying that money is being destroyed, right? So that's why I've always said that as soon as the banks stop printing money, as soon as they stop creating money out of thin air, as soon as they stop inflating, the system will collapse. That's called deflation, because whenever there's deflation, money is being destroyed. Okay, so what they'll do in order to incentivize people to spend and people not to save is they won't have to go into a negative interest rate like they're talking about now. They will actually do it by fiat. And what does that mean? That means, let's say, for example, that in your digital wallet, you get $1,000 a month, right? They can say, all right, you got $1,000 today on the 1st of December or the 1st of January, right? And they'll say, if you don't spend that $1,000 by the 30th of January or the 31st of January, that $1,000 is going to lose 10% of its purchasing power. So it's going to turn into $900. And then if you don't spend the rest of that $900 by the end of February, that $900 is going to turn into $800. So it's going to be an effective negative interest rate, really, if you think about it, if you don't spend the money. So they'll be able to control inflation by telling you that your money will disappear after certain times that are assigned to that money. They can also tell you or make you spend your money wherever they want. So you see, they'll have full control of the system with a CBDC. They'll be able to tell you, no, you can't go shopping here because we're low on these goods. So remember when we were having panic buying? If we were on a CBDC, then all they had to do was restrict certain wallets from being able to purchase at supermarkets during certain days of the week or during certain hours of the day and things like that. They would be able to actually restrict it. You would actually be able to have a turn. You would have a turn of when you could go to the store. They would let people know, well, your day to go to the store is on this day and this day, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And that would be the only 2 days of the week that your wallet would actually be able to purchase any kind of food stuff, because those were the 2 days. That's how much control a CBDC would have over our lives. Another thing, ladies and gentlemen, no property rights. We would lose our property rights if we went to a CBDC. And what do I mean by that? Right now, if my neighbor comes over here and he says, hey, Rudy, can I buy one of those tanks off of you? I see you have 2 water tanks there. Can I buy one off of you? And I'm like, okay, yeah, give me $100 for one of those. And he gives me $100. I take it. He takes a tank. We're good to go. Or if I get on Craigslist and I want to purchase something from Craigslist, I would say that 99.99% of the purchases on Craigslist are with cash. I know that some people transact with cryptocurrencies on Craigslist, but I'll go and buy whatever it is that I'm buying off of Craigslist, give them cash. Heck, that's how I bought my truck, was off of Craigslist, and I gave the guy cash, right? So if cash is gone and all we have is a CBDC, guess what? When you go ahead to make that purchase off of Craigslist, since you're buying a consumable item, guess who's going to get taxed for it? And guess who gets to decide how much taxes you pay on that? That's how much control they will have over our lives with a CBDC. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, for anyone that thinks that maybe this can't happen, it's happening right now. It's happening in one of the, largest or most populated nations in the world, or if not the most populated nation in the world, in China. In China, they have a CBDC, right? And it's so draconian over there that I saw a video once where it showed a gentleman crossing the street and he was jaywalking. And since they have a lot of facial recognition technology in China, the facial recognition, the AI, recognized who it was that was jaywalking. And by the time that that gentleman got to the other side of the street, the fine for jaywalking was already deducted from his crypto wallet, from his wallet, digital wallet. So that's how draconian it can get. It just depends on how much technology the government is willing to put into making it as draconian as they want to make it. And obviously, we all know here that the NSA, I think the NSA has a budget of about $360 billion a year. And I would say that they use most of that to go ahead and spy on us, their own citizenry. So we know that we have the technology to employ that kind of a system here. And here is hoping that that never happens. I personally think that it will happen eventually, but I think that it will fail. I think that it will fail because a fiat currency cannot survive. It may give fiat currencies a few more years, but I think it will fail because there are always other alternatives to use other than fiat currencies to do trade. I think that they're going to try to get people to accept it by doing some kind of free money thing, by doing something where, where they say, okay, UBI, Universal Basic Income. We're doing something where they say, okay, we're going to go ahead and deposit $1,000 a month in your account every single month. It doesn't matter. You spend it however you want. And then once they have the population, completely on board with a CBDC, they'll get rid of cash. And, there's some speculation out there that that's what Bitcoin is all about. That is something that's being used in order to get the population used to cryptocurrencies so that they can accept a CBDC. However, like I said, a CBDC is totally different than a decentralized cryptocurrency. Okay? I think that a decentralized cryptocurrency has many uses besides it just being a currency. For example, a blockchain technology from a decentralized cryptocurrency can be used during elections, right? To actually have voting that is 100% accurate and that cannot be manipulated, I guess you can say. Yeah, James, you have a great point right there. Forget any side hustles with the CBDC. But you know what? The black market is a wonderful thing. The black market, in my opinion, is the only real free market, right? When you think about it, the black market, who gave it that name? Who gave it the name black market? Somebody probably did that because they wanted it to sound like a bad thing, right? But in my opinion, it's the only real free market. People will find a way. Like I said, I don't think that a CBDC will survive long term because people will see with their eyes and especially with their wallets that the CBDCs don't go as far as what they should as far as purchasing power. And eventually they will lose any trust that they have in that CBDC at all. If CBDCs do become a thing, that there will be a lot more bartering in the black market than there is now. I mean, CBDCs will hurt so many people when you think about it. A lot of people don't agree with those folks that stand in a corner asking for money, right? With the signs out, right? However, some people are charitable and they want to give them money. I just gave some guy money here the other day at the transfer station. Again, he was standing there, at 0 degrees with a sign saying, I'm a day laborer. Could you give me some work? So I asked him, where he lives. And he was actually someone that lives in the bush that comes down to work for a few days out of the month to try to get some supplies to bring back to the bush and take care of his family, right? So if we were in a full CBDC system, how would I have been able to help him out? I wouldn't have. So people will get tired of that. It'll hurt a lot of people. So I think those are all of the really bad things that could happen with a CBDC. I don't think it's a good idea, but I think that it will become reality eventually. For those of you that may not have caught this, if you all remember Jay Powell, I think is the Fed chairman, Jay Powell, I believe is his name. I remember him saying that he wanted to be able to have the power to dole out money during any major crises without having to ask Congress. And the way that they were going to do it was with a CBDC, with a central bank digital currency, where they could just send you money automatically without even asking Congress if they can do so, just because they say, well, this is a major crisis. And a lot of people would probably fall in line with that. Why? Because we're destitute, ladies and gentlemen. As a nation, we are destitute right now. There is so much suffering going on that almost anyone that is going through a hard time right now would take that money as long as they could spend it just so that they can get some comfort from, or a little bit of respite from all of the hard times that's been going on here in the last several months. Unfortunately, I think it's going to get a little bit worse because they want to make sure that we are at bottom so that they can then introduce their next solution to the problems that they themselves have helped to create. Jen, that's a great question. How many cents of the dollar is the dollar actually worth right now? Well, I did my own calculations a couple of years ago, but everyone that says it a little different. I did my own calculations using the price of gold back in 1913, using the price of gold in the present. And I came out with like 98.6% of the purchasing power has been lost. But some people say it's 96%, 95. It doesn't matter. It's in the high 90s. And most of that damage has actually been done in the last 50 years. The dollar has lost about 80% of its purchasing power since 1971 when it was taken off of the gold standard. So most of the loss of purchasing power that has occurred to the dollar since its inception in 1913 has occurred in the last 50 years, since 1971. What I'm thinking is that there is going to be another major crisis. Something major is going to happen. And then they're probably going to try to slip it in there and actually make it into law. You know, I was wrong when I said that by the first of the year, every American was going to have a digital currency wallet. That was their plan, but it didn't work out. So, but I think that they still have that in the back burner, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to be working towards trying to implement that in the future. I hope not, but I'm pretty sure that they are. Yeah, you know what, Jan, that's one thing that people don't understand about the confiscation, you know, during 33, 34. They think that everyone turned in their gold. A lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't turn in their gold. And guess what? They were able to eat. Because even though that people were starving, they were still able to barter that gold for food and be able to eat gold and silver. They were still able to borrow it because there were still people that would accept it because they knew that it had value and they knew that eventually they would be able to use it. So absolutely, if anyone ever says anything about confiscating gold or anything like that, which like I said, I think that the possibility of that happening is slim to none. I really do. I don't think that that's going to happen or they'll even attempt it. If they do attempt to like confiscate gold, I would think that what they would do is they would confiscate the gold of the big mining companies within our borders. A way that they can confiscate it is actually a very easy way. So let's say, for example, today, let's say the price of gold today is 1900, right? I'm just making that up. I think it's really like 1945 or something like that. But let's say the price of gold is 1900 and the government wanted to confiscate your gold. What they could do is they could say, well, listen, we'll buy your gold for $4,000 an ounce. And most people will be like, oh, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and sell my gold for $4,000 an ounce because right now it's only 1900. I'm making twice as much as what it's worth right now. And then once they got their hand on as much gold as they could, they would revalue the price of gold to $15,000 or $20,000 an ounce. That's a way that they can confiscate gold without you really knowing that they're doing it. Really what they're doing is they're confiscating your purchasing power. Same thing that happened in 33/34. FDR told everyone you have to turn in your gold. If you don't turn in your gold, you face a $10,000 fine or 5 years in jail, whichever one of those it was. And people turn in their gold. They were paid $20.67 for each ounce of gold. Then once he had all of the gold that he was going to get from the people, I think it was a little over 100 million ounces that he got from the people. Once he did that, he went ahead and he revalued the price of gold to $35. So he literally inflated the price of everything by about 75% once he reevaluated the price of gold to $35 from $20.67. So that's what he did. He took the people's gold and then he destroyed the purchasing power of the dollar by 75% just to bail out the Federal Reserve, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much again for joining in. All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. God bless you guys. I'm Alaska Prepper. You guys know who I am. I'm out. God bless you guys. Have a great night.